All right, thank you for being here today. This is taking place of our normal bi-weekly press conference where we give you updates on crime and different trends going on within LMPD. So I want to touch on a few things, and then we'll make sure that we push out all the pertinent crime stats to you so that you have those as you normally do on a bi-weekly basis. First, I do want to touch on the fact that last weekend was a fairly violent weekend that's been fortunately an outlier for what we've experienced this year so far. And we had 3 homicides over the weekend, as well as 7 non-fatal shootings. That being said, one of the good things is that our homicide unit was able to identify, locate, and take into custody, with the help of the SWAT team yesterday, the suspect in the murder that happened at the Shawnee boat docks. And so we're very glad that of the work that they've done. That puts us at 86 homicides right now this year. That's down 26% compared to this time last year. And our non-fatal shootings are still down right at 30% at 279. So, like I said, we'll get those usual stats to you like normal. Kind of an update on Louder Than Life. I know the mayor's going to touch on some specifics in his press conference tomorrow, and we'll have the assistance of our special events as well as our traffic unit. But Bourbon and Beyond was very, very successful, but what we noticed is a few problems with the traffic exiting. It's a lot of people that are out there, and so we want to make sure that people are patient when it comes to Louder Than Life, because there will be even more people. And so one of the things that we've done is we've added several officers to the traffic detail, understanding that particularly on Saturday we are going to need everyone's patience and cooperation. We'll have Louder Than Life going on simultaneously to the U of L football game, where they're going to put a beat down on Bowling Green, and then Churchill Downs will be open also for racing during the afternoon. So we're going to have well over 150,000 people all right there in a couple of block radius. So we'll really need some cooperation. They're going to have a parking garage that'll be open downtown for the patrons of Louder Than Life, that they're going to run shuttle buses back and forth. So please work with us on that. One of the other things that's come up is the monitor for the community commitment. There was a meeting just the other night, and an open survey to the public. That survey was initially going to stay open for 24 hours. It is now staying open for 2 additional days, so the public can have some more input in that process. So just want to give you a heads up on that. And now we'll move on to what we're here to actually talk about, what you're most interested in, is this car crushing. And so one of the things I want to point out from the start is that this was a huge issue just a year ago. The number of street takeovers and the number of complaints that we got about this type of behavior, it was really headline news for several months last year. And to the thanks of, you'll see several of our traffic officers standing over there. I know they don't want to be on camera, but that's a lot of them over there that had played a huge role in shutting this down, gathering intel on these events, as well as to our patrol officers that helped us out with that. The county attorney's office, who was absolutely integral in making sure that we could appropriately charge and prosecute anything related to street racing. And then also one institute that you might not think about, but it plays a role in this today, is the NCIB, the National Crime Insurance Bureau, who evaluates a lot of the cars that we take into our tow lot about whether or not they're going to be street worthy. And so what you see behind us is a 2021, I believe, Hellcat Durango. This car is pieced together from several different stolen cars. The engine, the frame, the body, they're all from different cars. And so for that reason, this car is not street legal and cannot be put back out on the street. We did consider how to sell some of those parts, but because of the nature of the way that car is assembled, that's not going to be a fiscally responsible avenue. So as a notice to everyone, we're going to be crushing this car today, and we want this to be symbolic to people who are out here doing this street racing, understanding that we will take your car, whether it's us seizing it by the ordinance, which, just to give you some numbers, so far we've seized 52 cars to date for this year, and last year we seized 70 total and 62 in 2023, and we've seized a total of 167 cars under this ordinance. So that's very important to understand that work is being done, and we've effectively put a stop to this. I mean, we still have issues that pop up, but you all have seen, the public has seen that we don't have the issues that we had just a year ago. So we can seize these cars for up to 6 months, and then there's a fine after that. And normally when we tow cars, when we seize cars, once that car is released, this does not include victims' cars, but once that car is released, the owner has 45 days to come and claim it. And so when they don't, we ultimately take possession of those cars, and they're either put up for auction, so that's revenue returned back to the police department, to the city, to do the work that we need to do, which I would have loved to have thrown this car in the fleet if it were street legal. But the other thing that we do is we end up scrapping them for recycling. And so far, out of street racing cars, we have auctioned off 4 street racing cars, but we have not taken any into our fleet. So as I said, this is a car that's assembled out of many different parts, so we will not be able to sell or use this car in our fleet. But again, just to reemphasize, this is a message to people who want to go out here and participate in this dangerous behavior, that we are not going to tolerate it on the streets of Louisville. And with that, I will turn it over to Mayor Craig Greenberg, who will be the one that will press the button and get this kicked off. Mayor.
Thank you. What's up? The remote, I'll just leave that remote on here. It's on your pants. On your left leg. Oh, yeah. Good afternoon. It's great to be here with the chief today. Thank you very much to our traffic officers and other LMPD officers who are doing such important work every day to keep our community safe. Every person, every family, in every corner of our city deserves to feel safe and be safe. And that's why Chief Humphrey and I are working so hard every day to create a safer city through collaboration, innovation, enforcement, and reform. And while we still have work to do, we are on the right track. As you just heard, homicides, shootings, carjackings, and more are all down. Still, we need to do more. And that's why we're here today. Our streets should be safe for everyone. Whether you're driving to work, walking your dog, or simply enjoying time with your families and friends. That's why when we hear about illegal street racing, when we hear about street takeovers in any part of our city, LMPD shows up and shuts it down. We've seen street races in our community reach over 120 miles per hour and have dangerous, even fatal consequences. The family of Myrtle Wacker will soon be mourning the 1-year anniversary of her tragic death when she was killed by illegal street racers on October 25th, a year ago. Street racing is reckless, it's dangerous, and it's completely unacceptable in Louisville, Kentucky. Again, that is why LMPD shows up and shuts it down. As you just heard, last year we took more illegal street racing cars off our streets than at any year in our city's history. It's a reflection of our commitment to protecting lives and restoring peace in our neighborhoods. And it's working. Thanks to this increased enforcement and community vigilance, illegal street racing in Louisville is down significantly. And that means there are significantly fewer chances for tragedy, fewer nights disrupted by squealing tires and roaring engines, and most importantly, more peace for the families of Louisville. Today we're sending a clear message as we work to do every day. Louisville will not tolerate behavior that puts our people, our families, at risk. So we will continue to use every tool that we have to protect our community and make Louisville safer, stronger, and healthier. This vehicle that we're crushing today was seized by LMPD. It's a Frankenstein car put together by many different parts. This vehicle could not be auctioned off. It's not legal to be ever used on our streets again. Same goes for its parts. For anyone who's thinking about street racing in Louisville, think again. You are not welcome here. We will not let you put lives at risk. We will seize your car, and if it's not legal for the streets, we will crush it.
think it sends a message. You're not going to get your car back if you participate in this type of behavior. It's a weird dynamic sometimes that people are less afraid of arrest and prosecution than they are of having their cars taken away from them. And so I think it was a huge plus for us to have that ordinance passed that allows us to seize cars for up to 6 months, because that's ultimately what people don't want, is they don't want to lose their car. And so I think that's why you've seen the success and the drop in numbers, our ability to enforce it.
Can you tell us more about this car, Chief, and the people that were involved with it?
So this is the question was more about this car and the people involved in it. It's really actually a convoluted story, because the owner of the car, I believe, was not prosecuted because he did not know originally that it was the product of a bunch of different stolen parts. And this car was seized ultimately at Street Rod Nationals last year. Officers had identified it previously, being involved in street racing, not necessarily by this owner. And they identified it, was able to go get it while it was parked, and nobody was around. So that's why there's not any type of prosecution that came in conjunction with it.
Is there any concern for people that they could potentially be buying a car like that has a bunch of stolen parts and it could be seized?
So the question is about concern for individuals who might be buying cars that are of stolen parts, and generally that does not happen. And I don't know how that purchase took place, but that is part of what happens when cars are insured and registered with each state. That's part of the reason why there are regulations like that, just to make sure that people are getting cars that are legally purchased, not stolen, as well as safe for the road.
You got plans to crush any more?
The question was, do we have plans to crush any more? We're going to crush all of them that meet the criteria for us to be able to crush, and if something changes in the legislation that allows us to do it more, we'll do that. But in all honesty, most of these cars are pretty nice. I would rather seize them and put them in our fleet or sell them to the public so that we can use those resources in enforcement actions.
How often does this happen?
I don't have the exact stats on how often we crush cars or how many cars we crush, but we both auction cars and recycle cars every 2 weeks, and we can get you the numbers on how many we've done so far this year.
So what becomes of it now?
So this car will go on to recycling. All of these cars that are crushed are ultimately recycled and sold for scrap to be reused.
Can you clarify how much street racing? Do you have numbers as far as how much it's down, or how to show that?
Yeah, our numbers as far as how much street racing is down is about 40% year to date from previous years. And we'll get you those exact numbers of how many cars we've seized. It's a little bit harder to get how many street racing events have happened, but as far as the number of seizures, which really correlates with the number of events, particularly because we have paid attention to this stuff and we are being able to get resources there for enforcement action fairly quickly when these pop up, but they have significantly dropped. And I think the public sees that while it's still annoying, we don't have the same level of issue that we had in years past.
Would you like to see that state law passed this coming year to make it easier to do this?
So the question was about the state law being passed to make it easier to do this. I am all about any legislative actions that can help us keep the community safer, and so if that can contribute to it, I'm very supportive of it.
Anything else?
How were you tipped off to this? Like, how did you know that this had all these parts from all across the country?
So the question was, how do we know that it had all these parts all across the country? So anytime these cars come in after we tow a car, so it was towed through investigative means, they were able to identify this car, locate it, and tow it. And then they run routine checks on it. And when the VIN numbers aren't matching up between the engine and the car and stuff like that, and so that's a red flag right away. And so every car that we tow, we check for stolen to start off with. And so I'm not exactly sure how they ascertain that, but usually when the VIN numbers on different parts of the car don't match, it's what the FBI calls a clue.
Are we seeing this more often? Like, I think the engine's from like Michigan or something. Is this something?
Right. And as far as seeing it more often, I don't think it's something that we're seeing more or less often, or I can't give you that information right now. But this is not a new problem. This goes back to the beginning of motor vehicles in the United States, of people piecemealing cars together and people stealing cars. So, and then people racing cars. That goes way back. So, all right. Thank you all.